Good afternoon or good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's presentation entitled How Sage Intacct Construction and Sage Construction Management Connect Teams for Success. This session is brought to you by Ledgerable, a BTerrell company, where we're in our 35th year of upgrading small and mid-sized general and specialty contractors from QuickBooks or a legacy on-premises construction, financial, or project management application to Sage Intacct Construction or Sage Construction Management. Sage Intacct Construction is the only construction accounting application ever named by the AICPA as their preferred provider of construction financial applications. I'm Brian Terrell, managing partner of B company. Today, for general specialty Sage Intacct Construction. If you're here for continuing professional education, today's presentation qualifies for an hour of CPE credit, and we only ask of you that you respond after the webinar ends. We've created a practice polling question to show you what they'll look like, how you should respond, and serve an important purpose. This is that polling question, which is displayed on the screen, but you're noticing that our Zoom webinar software also displays a pop-up window, which allows you to choose yes or no with respect to this question and submit an answer. Please do that now and answer that question because it helps us know who in today's audience will be expecting CPA credit. Our goal throughout this entire presentation is to answer these polling questions in 20 seconds or so, and then they disappear, like this one has disappeared, and we're able to move on to the rest of our presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we turn it over to Chris. We've disabled audio for all attendees to minimize distractions like the dog barking or the doorbell ringing, but please know that we welcome your questions, and to submit a question that Chris will be happy to answer at the end of the presentation, just click on the Q&A button that you see there on your Zoom toolbar. And then one other housekeeping item. We're recording today's presentation, and we'll send you a link to that recording within 5 business days. Please use that link to review the highlights of today's presentation, to share with colleagues within your company who were unable to join us today, or even send to peers within our industry who you think could benefit by what information Chris will share in the next hour. That wraps up our housekeeping items, and I want to turn it over to Chris for today's presentation. Chris?
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Firra, and I'm a proud member of the team at Ledgerable, a BTerrell company. Our agenda today focuses on the communications that are necessary to successfully complete a construction project or contract. We'll cover the importance of communication, the concept of a common data repository, and the communications that take place between all of the stakeholders in a construction project. Here are our learning objectives behind the agenda we just reviewed. Understanding the importance of all communications, the importance of a shared common set of project documents and data, the types of communications that take place in a construction project, and to understand how construction management solutions attempt to remove the friction inherent in these communications. So right away, I would like your input on this poll question. How does your company manage project communications today? By phone, email, meetings, combination of the above, or via construction management software, or perhaps none of these? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Please respond within that time period. This picture illustrates how failed communications can result in a disastrous consequence. This is obviously AI generated. However, the worker that's pointing at the other workers on the right adds a little bit of realism. When things go wrong, there's usually a good amount of finger pointing that can result in ugly legal battles. In general, contractors are reluctant to talk about project failures of any kind. However, I found that many are willing to do so with their brethren on sites like Reddit, given its pseudo-anonymity. In one story, a general contractor once relied on outdated project plans because not everyone received the latest updates. Subcontractors began work according to the older plans, while internal teams assumed that everyone was aligned with the recent changes. This single lapse in internal communications led to the wrong placement of utility lines, requiring days of rework and incurring thousands in extra costs. To complicate matters, the external client who expected transparent updates was left in the dark, learning about the delay only after it became a critical issue. This resulted in a loss of client confidence and a strained relationship that lingered long after the project ended. Now, there are typically many internal and external stakeholders involved in a construction project, starting with the client, the architect, and possibly a construction management or consulting firm. There's project managers, and field operations. Payroll departments are part of the mix. I left out additional parties that are part of the pre-construction phase, such as sales and estimating, but they often get involved in the change order process. And here are just some of the types of communications that occur between these stakeholders. Project management must provide instructions to field operations and subs. This includes drawings, schedules, checklists, and work orders. In turn, field ops must provide updates on work performed through daily logs and report on issues that occur at the site. Project managers often issue POs and subcontracts and change orders to subs and suppliers. And subs must submit COIs and licensing and lien waivers before receiving payment. PMs must be involved in approving project-related transactions before they're approved by finance. And field ops captures and submits labor and equipment hours. And finally, PMs must keep the client and external stakeholders up to date on any issues as well as progress made towards completion. It begins to resemble a complicated symphony with each stakeholder playing a key role. So we begin to see why communications in construction projects are complicated by the number of stakeholders involved and the types of communications. The various mediums and forms of communications add another layer of complexity. The most common methods of internal and external communications in construction firms are through emails with and without attachments, text messages, phone calls, scheduled meetings, blueprints and drawings, site reports in various formats such as spreadsheets, and video conferences. Unfortunately, communications using many of these methods is ineffective when meeting attendees are unavailable or have connection difficulties, texts or calls are missed, and when emails are blocked or unnoticed. Another issue is a common issue is out-of-date project documents, which it results in misaligned expectations or unclear or lacking instructions, which results in rework and delays. And then inadequate project documentation is another issue because it results in higher insurance premiums and increased legal exposure. So just to kind of recap, when internal communications are ineffective, it can lead to misunderstandings, missed deadlines, and errors. In the best case scenario, profit margins and client relationships are placed at risk. However, these issues often escalate into disputes, which can then lead to costly legal battles. Time for another poll question. Where is your biggest communication bottleneck? And I'll let you review the list. Field reports include things like daily reports, issues, safety incidents, etc. Procurement probably would include POs and change orders, etc. By the way, if you're interested in the outcomes here, we'll gather that up and just let us know that you're interested, and we'll get those percentages to you. So modern construction management solutions have come along that are designed to facilitate many forms of construction communications with each of the stakeholders. You may have heard of some of these solutions like Procore, Autodesk Construction Cloud, Sage Construction Management, BuildOps, and BuilderTrend. Each of these solutions has its strengths and weaknesses that are targeted for different segments of the market, but with significant overlap. Now, while we've gained a great deal of familiarity with solutions like Procore over the years, the Ledgerable team has deep expertise in Sage's construction management solution. Sage CM, as I'll call it, is a modern cloud platform built specifically for collaboration and mobility. Sage CM is tightly integrated with Sage Intacct Construction financials to provide a complete end-to-end solution for small to medium-sized construction firms and developers. I say Sage CM is built specifically for collaboration and mobility for two reasons. First, Sage CM mobile apps that empower field teams with anytime, anywhere access to project details and provides the ability to document construction issues in progress. And secondly, its TeamLink Portal enables collaboration and real-time data sharing with external partners. Finally, the integration with Sage Intacct Construction Finance aligns operational and finance teams to work together towards improved job profitability. Just to drill down a bit on this, the Sage CM mobile app provides deep functionality to users in the field, including full access to drawings and specs, which can be annotated on the fly, project records such as submittals and project contacts. Users are alerted of assignments and provided with checklists, site hazard assessments, and more. They can take advantage of features including speech to text, and of course, they can record photos and videos to support documentation in their daily reports and project issues and safety incidents. And TeamLink Portal, on the other hand, provides unlimited logins for outside team members, including architects, consultants, clients, vendors, and subcontractors. There is no additional charge for external users accessing the portal. And it uses role-based security to grant access as needed for specific projects and companies securing sensitive information. It provides real-time access and updates across both the internal and external team members. The key is that Sage CM acts as a shared common data repository. Focusing on those communications with the client, it can be very important to manage bid proposals and contracts, drawings and specs, and their revisions, RFIs, submittals, and transmittals. So let's take one example of that. The scenario is where an electrical subcontractor discovers an issue with a conduit routing that requires a resolution by the architect. Here's our subcontractor, Justin Adams, who's using the TeamLink Portal. Here in the TeamLink Portal, he can view his bid opportunities, any alerts that may have been for project assignments, as well as the project list. He can go into one of his projects here, and from here he can view project-specific alerts, drawings and specs, any files that have been shared with him, any open tasks, and on the project financials page, you can view the summary of his contract and pay apps against that contract. He can also update his insurance information. Navigating back into the project quick links, you can initiate a new RFI from the correspondence section. You'll need to enter a reason, priority, and a subject. And then the details of the information that he's seeking in the request area. Often it's important to supplement that with things like photographs of the problem he's attempting to resolve. Now, once that's finished, it's immediately stored, and alerts have been sent out to the coordinator, in this case, the project manager, Greg Abraham. He can click into that RFI that's marked ASAP, and he can supplement any additional information that needs to be added. He can edit it where necessary, adjusting the priority, and he can also use this opportunity to create a response workflow that involves one or more other parties to get their input. In this case, you'll go through the respondents using the project directory, which is a list of all the parties involved in the project. You can search for a name here, or either by company or contact name, or he can simply select one from the list. In this case, he's going to find Alan Bjorn, from the architect involved in this project. He can add multiple parties if needed. In this case, that's not the case. He can check his references here, and he can also add any CC'd parties. He's added the client in this case, so that they're kept in the loop of what's going on. From the Actions menu, he can select Send RFI, and he can choose from a variety of email templates as necessary. He'll review that email template. He can make any modifications on the fly if necessary. And when ready, he can send that email out. Note that in the reply instructions, it will provide a link directly to the RFI record. Now, Alan Bjorn receives that alert via email. He can click into it and open the RFI directly from the email. He'll perform his review. And he can update the potential impact in terms of cost or time delayed if on an as-needed basis, or can pose questions regarding that to get additional information. In this case, it's been determined that no additional delay impact will occur, and so he'll enter his approval to the proposed solution, which then immediately updates all of the parties concerned. And note that he can open any of the attachments and view them as part of that review process. Now, whether using the TeamLink Portal or not, Sage CM can provide a crucial role in facilitating communications with both subs and suppliers. Sage CM manages each of these communications, providing the option to enforce approval workflows that are designed by the company. TeamLink Portal simply makes the processes even more efficient and seamless. For instance, with invitations to bid, Sage CM manages the entire process. Vendors can deliver a response whether they're bidding directly in the invitation email. They can view drawings and specs in the TeamLink portal and can enter their bids for immediate access and comparison. Now, as we've just seen, external collaborators can create and respond to RFIs, submittals, and journals as well directly in the portal. Change orders impacting both purchase orders and subcontracts can be managed in Sage CM, shared via email and via the portal. And vendors can submit invoices and bills tied to approved subcontract and purchase orders through the portal. So for the second example, our scenario looks at how the same subcontractor, Adams Electric, can enter their payout billings through the TeamLink portal, giving the PM and subcontractor immediate access for review and approval or rejection. We'll start with Justin Adams, the subcontractor. He'll use under the procurement area, the sub invoice. He'll enter his invoice number. In this case, he's going to modify the issue date to go back to the end of the billing period and enter a terms code. That creates the header in effect. And then he'll enter the details. In this case, it's a fixed fee contract, and he'll enter the current work performed and any stored materials. Note that the project is now 85% complete. Oh, immediately he's given a warning that he's got an expired insurance record that needs to be resolved. So he'll use that link to go back down into his insurance and update it accordingly. He simply needs to choose the insurance type, the issuer, and all of the relevant details. If this is project specific, you can choose that project. And it would be a good idea to upload a copy of the policy or a COI at this point. However, he has an opportunity to do that at a later point. If he wishes to do so, he can upload an insurance certificate. Now, our project manager has received the invoice. In this case, a project admin is reviewing the invoice, and if there were any additional files that needed to be added to that invoice record to kind of help support its approval, that could be done so right here. Our project admin now has received the sub invoice and performing their review. They can update any information on an as needed basis. They can add comments. One more thing is that they can initiate the workflow approval should they need to do so. Here, they're looking at the details of the invoice and the impact on the overall subcontract. By initiating the approval workflow, it then alerts the project manager, who is the first step in that approval workflow, to review. They can then review all of those same details, including the admin's comments and the financial impact of the invoice. against the subcontract. They could view any attachments, including the photograph that was uploaded previously supporting the invoice, and then choose to either reject or approve. They're given a reason for making that decision as well, the place to enter that reason. And they can post to Sage Intacct once it's been approved so that they can be processed by the finance team. Now, what about communications with employees in the field? As we mentioned before, they can utilize internet-connected devices such as mobile phones and tablets, or use the full web application. Superintendents and crew leaders have access to only their designated projects and the functions determined by their respective security roles. It's important for them to be able to view project schedules, to-dos, and checklists to ensure that project tasks are performed correctly, in the right order, and according to project timelines. Superintendents can easily complete daily logs using their mobile devices, capturing relevant photos and videos to document their reports. So for our third example, let's see how a superintendent might use Sage CM to manage the daily log requirement in a simple to use but thorough way. The superintendent is logged in and goes into the daily log function. They'll choose the contract for which they're reporting on and enter any general notes on daily activities. They could add any photographs or files that are relevant to to support that activity here, including photographs and videos. And they can enter trade-specific activity details here, including the location where the activity occurred and a general description. As well as giving some idea of the quantity of work delivered. In this case, 42 lights installed. They can add weather conditions for the day. Note that the location of the project allows the application to go out and grab some of those details and pre-fill that, which can be overridden. They can identify which partners were on site performing work during the day. And how long they were there. 2 workers, each working 8 hours that day, and a general comment about work performed. Any additional subs or trades that were on site could be referenced as well. It's a good idea to add mention of any equipment in use during that day. And any material deliveries. In this case, we'll utilize open POs to identify what was delivered and the quantities accordingly. And finally, any site visitors during the day. In this case, the client's representative has come for a site walkthrough. Now, this daily log can be updated throughout the day, but at this point, it's accessible by any of the team members internally to review the activity that's going on, and a daily log report can also be generated and stored accordingly. Any of the uploads that were provided before are now accessible to folks like the project manager to see visually any work performed. In this litigious age, it's vital that safety meetings and incidents are well documented. Our fourth and last example follows the scheduling of a safety meeting and documentation of the meeting while in progress. So notice that we'll have a record of all of the safety meetings that have taken place before. They can be pre-entered and scheduled in advance with perhaps an agenda for each. And we can see that there's a date, a starting time, a location, and the facilitator mentioned in the safety meeting record. Under general notes, we can see the idea that's going to take place here. The attendees can be brought forward from prior meetings, or they can be, and once they do so, we can adjust that with any additional attendees that we expect to be on site during that day. The agenda for the meeting, called the safety items here, can be specified. Any details about what will be covered in that agenda topic can be detailed here as well. And generally, there are handouts at these types of meetings, so those could be uploaded in advance so that each attendee would have a copy delivered to them via email. So once this invitation is set, we can send it out to each of the intended attendees. Any adjustments to that recipient list can be made here, especially since those without an email address typically would not receive a copy. And any adjustments that might be made in the email, we can see that they can either opt in that they will attend or will not attend simply from selecting an option in the email. So that's been sent now, and this is an example of what that email looks like. They can either reply that they will or will not attend. And the accepted column then will be updated accordingly. Once the meeting starts, however, they might begin with a roll call that identifies who's present and who's not. The safety items can be touched on one by one, and as they're going through that, they can be documented about any changes that were made, any comments that were made accordingly, and then they can be closed out. And the final item here in our agenda is basically setting up the meeting for the next date. Now, the importance of this kind of documentation cannot be understated. These types of records are asked for by OSHA and other external parties. They also can be critical in making sure that your insurance premiums stay at a manageable level, and they address sometimes the liability issues that can come up. So our final question here is that Sage Construction Management facilitates external communications with which types of external stakeholders? And of course, the correct answer is all of the above. So I want to point out some conclusions, some takeaways that I hope you picked up on today. First, common data access is key to ensuring common understanding of the requirements. Secondly, real-time communications eliminates failures inherent in common communication mediums. And lastly, documentation of communications is critical to staying compliant and reducing risk. Construction management solutions like Sage Construction Management can help manage all of these relevant topics. It's not the only solution out there, but it is certainly a very good one and fits well in its intended target market. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Brian, and he'll lead us out from here.
Thank you, Chris. Excellent job. And I noticed that we've got a couple of questions that have been submitted, and I wanted to know if you'd be able to hang on for to help us answer those questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, it also gives us an opportunity. If you've got a question that you wanted to submit using that Q&A toolbar, you still have time, and I encourage you to do that. We have another 5 or 10 minutes or so that we can use to address those questions as well as those that have already come in. So don't hesitate. Take a moment to enter in that question, and Chris will address that before we end up today. While we're giving you that additional opportunity, I'd like to just do a bit of advertising. The next slide shows that we have other presentations that we're available to present to business groups, construction back office professionals, CPA firms, Texas CPA Society or CFMA local chapters, other professional groups. We would be happy to come into your back office and bring lunch. The first one is entitled Accelerating the Financial Close, Automation Today, AI Tomorrow. Second one, Changing Technology, Creative Disruption, and the Accounting Profession, Thriving in a Blockchain Economy. And then this last presentation entitled Prosperity Through Recurring Revenue, Unleashing the Power of the Subscription Economy. This applies to those specialty industry subcontractors who provide service maintenance agreements to businesses or consumers after project completion. In addition to these presentations, we have opportunities that you may take us up on for upcoming webinars or industry events at which you could learn additional valuable information, as well as meet up with your favorite Ledgerable professional, such as I will be presenting the 10th webinar in our monthly webinar series, which is scheduled for November the 19th between 12 and 1. You could take a picture of that QR code and take advantage of that. Also, you can see that we'll be at trade shows in the next couple of weeks. The first being the CFMA Lone Star Conference trade show down in San Antonio, and then heading up to the Midwest the week or so after that for the Chicago Build Expo. We'd love for you guys or gals to drop by there. And then finally, I'm participating as a speaker at the Texas CPA Society's year-end CPE Expo events in San Antonio and Houston. You see the dates there. There's 2 days worth of great content presented by the Texas CPA Society. They do that through their entity called Actify, but it's the same old CPE Expo that you may or may not have attended in prior years, usually in major cities in Dallas. And I'll be there along with many others, and a lot of great opportunity there for additional education and CPE right before the end of the year, and maybe at a time when you have more time in order to gather up that CPE credits. Okay, let's see what questions we have for Chris. Chris, here's a question. What protections exist for sensitive documents around the TeamLink portal? It looks like that could be a hacking opportunity.
Well, first of all, it is a cloud-based application with best-in-class security surrounding it, including encryption on the connection. But moreover, maybe the best answer is that Sage CM utilizes role-based definitions where the administrator can define the roles and the permissions that each role should have, as well as assigning individual users project assignments. And then that restricts users to only the information that's relevant to them.
Okay, good. Here's a jumping down for a question because it's kind of related. It's just it's how do you license the folks that access the TeamLink portal?
Well, those licenses are absolutely free. They are included in the product, and so there is no limit. It's just simply a matter of enabling a user and making sure that they've been assigned to an appropriate permission role.
Okay. Here's another related question. Will it work on my Android device?
It absolutely will. The mobile app that's available on the Android store as well as the iOS platform allows use on both phones and tablets, and and other types of devices. Of course, you can also utilize the full web application on many of those devices should the screen be large enough.
Okay. Well, this is a little bit unrelated, going in a bit of a different direction, but what about specialty contractors? It does seem ideal for general contractors. What about specialty contractors?
Yeah, I would say that it is the best fit for general contractors. There are some functions that specialty contractors might not utilize nearly as much. However, it does fit. It does provide some basic estimating capabilities. It does provide integration with Sage Intacct for both types of contractors. And it does facilitate communications. In this case, the client would probably be a GC firm with those, for both contracts and billing and other aspects using the application.
Okay. And here's a last question that's been submitted here. Although we still have just a moment, if others want to go ahead and submit a question. This question: what payroll solutions work with Sage CM?
As of today, the payroll solutions are integrated with the accounting application, primarily Sage Intacct construction. And so payroll solutions like ADP and Lumber and others integrate directly with Sage Intacct. So Sage CM captures the hours by employee, project, and cost code, and then sends that information to Sage Intacct, where it can then be picked up by the payroll solutions.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Well, I don't see any other questions, so we're able to wrap up unless there are some last minute questions. I just want to say thank you, first of all, to Chris. I know you prepared and delivered an excellent presentation. These things are difficult, and appreciate all the effort that you've placed into this one. And then also to Shirley and Sophia and those in the marketing team and production team that have done all the hard work of making sure the program begins and ends on time. Thank you for gorgeous graphics and all that you did to make this an effective presentation. And then thank you for those of you who have attended. We will reach out via email to address any other questions that we get around this, or feel free to submit those using the contact information that you see on the screen. We'll get that post webinar evaluation form to you, complete that, then in combination with the polling question responses and compliance efforts there, we'll be able to distribute CPE credit statements or forms in the very near term. Look forward, please, to next month, where we will talk about ERP 4.0 for contractors, why artificial intelligence creates better accounting jobs, not fewer accounting jobs. Until then, good day.